Hey, this is Jacob. Thanks for tuning in to my YouTube channel. We're studying and going through the book of Job. We're through 11 chapters already, and one thing I want to bring to light here is notice all the wrong that has happened so far. Obviously, Satan's in the picture, and therefore ruins a lot. The thieves that come and steal Job's flocks and herds. The three friends that Job has, they all come and speak wrong to Job. Job has a wrong response and a wrong heart in these situations. But don't point a finger at him. You probably would have much worse than I would too. There's a lot of wrong going on. And we get to see that in this cry that Job's heart. He's longing for things to be right. He's longing for things to be pure and the way in order. And he's longing for relief and distress in his life. And notice that nobody has the answers but God. No one has the truth but God. And there's only one person who's sinless, and everyone in this picture so far is completely sinful. But the only sinless one is Jesus, who is years and years away of coming down into the earth. But that's where we're at. I just want to bring that to light. There's a lot of wrong things being said, a lot of wrong actions, a lot of sin. Job is crying out of a impure heart. He's saying some things that he shouldn't, but let's not point a finger at Job. Let's learn from this situation. So here's chapter 12 and Job. Job just heard from his third friend, Zophar, in chapter 11, and Job is replying here in chapter 12. It says, then Job replied, "Doubtless you are the people with wisdom, and wisdom will die with you." That's a sarcastic remark. He's making fun of his friends. "But I have a mind as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Who does not know all these things?" So Job is saying, none of that is helping. I already know all that. "I have become a laughingstock to my friends, though I called upon God, and he answered. A mere laughingstock, though righteous and blameless. Men at ease have contempt for misfortune, and the fate of those whose feet are slipping." What he's saying here in verse 5, men at ease have contempt for misfortune. What he's saying is those who have misfortune events happen to them, whether it's on purpose or not on purpose, we don't know, because it's behind the scenes stuff. In this case, we know it's Satan being allowed to torment and hurt Job. But he's saying men at ease have contempt for misfortune. Men are sitting on the hill with all their millions of dollars, and they don't have any problems in the world. And they say, "Oh, well, that's because this is happening to you because you're X, Y, or Z." I've had that happen to me. It's not very fun. It's not a very fun place at all. And that's what his friends have done. They've said, "Well, you've sinned, and that's why you're going through this. If you hadn't sinned, you wouldn't have got this." That's what the first friend said, Eliphaz. Eliphaz was basically saying karma. If good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. That's what Eliphaz was saying, the first of three friends that visited Job. Which is not true, because Job didn't do anything wrong. And bad things happened to him. God allowed those things to happen to him. So this book blows karma out of the water. Karma is a horrible, horrible belief system by many, many peoples, especially golfers. I've been in the golf world. They think, "Oh, you're not living right if you hit it bad." Well, that's not true. Or if you hit a good shot, you're like, "Oh, you must be living right." No, that's not true either. We're all full of sin, and we're messed up people. So karma is, in truth, just deletes karma. Karma is just the easiest one to dispute. And the greatest case would be Jesus. He had no sin, yet he was treated that way in his whole life. He had no sin, and that's how the world treated him. And that was the toll on his life. So, did he do anything wrong? No. Anyway, Job is disputing that here in 5 and calling out these men of fortune. He says, men at ease have contempt for misfortune, and the fate of those whose feet are slipping. It's almost like the men at ease are saying, "Oh, well, see, I'm a better person because I don't have that problem in my life." or I'm surely I'm more godly, or I'm doing things right and I'm doing things the way they should be because I don't have to go through what that person goes through. That's what Job is exposing here. Verse 6, chapter 12, verse 6. The tents of marauders are undisturbed. You ever notice that? That's very true in our lives. Wicked people that live in this world that we know and around us, they have just nice, cozy homes. They'd have no problems. Undisturbed lives to their demise. Going on, verse 6. And those who provoke God are secure, those who carry their God in their hands. But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds of the air, and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you. Or let the fish of the sea inform you. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? Is his hand in this? Is in his hand is the life of every creature, and the breath of all mankind. The verse that comes to mind is, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. And Job is saying, you couldn't be more foolish to not recognize and see that God's hand is in everything created. Verse 11, does not the ear test words as the tongue tastes food? Is not wisdom found among the aged? Does not long life bring understanding? To God belong wisdom and power. Counsel and understanding are his. What he tears down cannot be rebuilt. The man he imprisons cannot be released. If he holds back the waters, there is drought. If he lets them loose, they devastate the land. To him belong strength and victory. Both deceived and deceiver are his. He leads counselors away stripped and makes fools of judges. He takes off the shackles put on by kings and ties a loincloth around their waist. He leads priests away stripped and overthrows men long established. He silences the lips of trusted advisors. Verse 19, he leads priests away and overthrows men long established. I think that's what we're seeing going on in the White House in Washington, D.C. right now. We're seeing someone who's been raised up by God. I'm not saying he's a Christian. I'm not saying he's a good man in Donald Trump. But what I'm saying is, clearly God has raised him up for this time. God has allowed him to be a presidential candidate against Hillary Clinton. And I really think and hope that God will use him to overthrow the men long established in Washington, D.C. The problems and the corruption that's going on in D.C. needs to be cleansed, and needs to be washed out. It needs to be thoroughly washed. There's so much wrong going on in Washington, D.C. No one in this country trusts Washington, D.C. anymore. It's all lobbyists, and money is spoiled, and power-hungry people. It's horrible. So Job is saying here in verse 19 that God overthrows men long established. He silences the lips of trusted advisors and takes away the discernment of elders. He pours contempt on nobles and disarms the mighty. He reveals the deep things of darkness and brings deep shadows into the light. He makes nations great and destroys them. Is that going to happen in the United States? It certainly could. And it is a real big possibility. Again, verse 23, he makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and disperses them. He deprives the leaders of the earth of their reason. He sends them wandering through a trackless waste. They grope in darkness with no light. He makes them stagger like drunkards. Job is giving voice to what God does and who God does. Job is just filled with lots of wisdom. A very wise man. So that's Job 12, and he's going to continue in Job 13, but we'll jump into that next time.